In this tutorial, I'll show you how you can use a multi-output version of the BBC SO Pro plugin to link different microphone outputs to different channels within your DAW. Though I'm using Logic in this tutorial, this is also applicable to other DAWs that have multi-output options. The first thing that we need to do when creating a multi-output version of the BBC SO plugin is to make sure that in Logic, when we select the BBC Symphony Orchestra, we make sure that we select the multi-output version and use the 25x stereo if we're using more than 16 outputs. Before creating the instrument, we'll also need to select the multi-timbral option and then select the amount of parts that you wish to use. For this tutorial, I'm going to use the closed tree, ambient and outrigger configuration, so I'm going to select 4 parts. Now that the plugin's been opened along with the channel strips, we can select the instrument that we wish from the instrument selector. And then I recommend renaming the channels with the instruments and the mics that you've selected. If we now open up the mixer within Logic by selecting Command and 2, you'll see that we only have 1 channel strip even though we've opened 4 different channels here. So to see the other outputs that you've created, simply select the plus icon here. We'll also need to rename the tracks in the mixer window to match those of the track window. Now that we've created the tracks, we can then reopen the plugin and go to the mic options here. As we're using the closed tree, outrigger and ambient configuration, I no longer have the need to use the Mix 1 preset. So I'm going to enable these microphones by selecting the toggle below. And then to make the mixing side easier, I'm going to make sure that the maximum output is selected for each microphone. Now when I play the library, you'll notice that we're only coming out of one of the outputs that we've created. So the next thing that we need to do is to make sure that the outputs we've selected within the plugin match those that we've selected within Logic. So the close is on output 1 and 2, the tree will be on stereo output 2, otherwise known as 3 and 4, outriggers will be on 3, 5 and 6, and ambients will be on 4, 7 and 8. We can test if we've rigged the outputs correctly by toggling off each of the outputs to test that they're coming out of the right channel strip within Logic. Now that we've confirmed that all of the channels work, we can toggle each one back on. You'll now see that rigging the BBC SO microphones up in this way in your DAW means that we have the advantage of being able to individually EQ and apply different effects to each different microphone that we're using. So practically what this means is that we can select the EQ for the close microphone and decide that we want this to be of a lower brightness. And instead we want to make sure that the ambient microphone signal has a bigger brightness here. And this isn't possible within the plugin to edit the individual effects. The last thing that we can do within Logic to neaten up these new tracks that we've just created is to create a summing stack by holding down the Shift button, selecting the top or bottom track to highlight all, and then selecting Shift, Command and D to create a summing stack. This means that we can keep it all in a neat sum like so. And if we're creating a template within Logic, we can also change the icon here by selecting Control and click, and then we can select the icons within Logic or the custom icons that are provided on the page for the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So what would happen if you wanted to set up the same configuration with a different track? Well, to speed up the workflow, you can actually save the microphone preset that we've just created within the BBC plugin by reopening the plugin, going back to the mic selector, and then selecting the Save Mixer Preset button here. We can then rename the preset anything we'd like, and then select Save. That way, when we create a new multi-output track within Logic, we can then carry out the same process we did before in terms of setting up and renaming the tracks. And then once you've done that, you can then select the different instrument that you'd want here. We can go back to the microphone preset option, select the Load Mixer Preset button, click on the preset that we've just created, and then it will be loaded into the plugin here.
Thanks for watching Spitfire Clips. Let us know if it was too long, too short, too fast or too slow in the comments down below. Hit like if we answered your question and subscribe for more clips, tips, tricks and exclusive Spitfire content.